the level of interest she has in making sure Caitlin Clark stay upright. Upright for it's them respecting Caitlin Clark, for it's them doing everything they need to do to make sure Caitlin Clark is not only playing at a high level, being represented by an organization on a high level. And I'm telling you right now, she has none of that. She has none of that with this organization. Let's pull it up right now. Let me blow this up. I'm throwing my hands up like it was going to be boom. There we go. Here go the boom right here. Now,
another Friday brings fresh tension out of the Indiana Fever front office. A familiar pattern keeps playing out online. Whatever gets posted with a sharp edge tends to come back around, especially when people remember how differently things were framed the last time the team was winning. This time the spotlight lands on Fever general manager Amber Cox. Some have tried to give her the benefit of the doubt, but her recent conduct has raised eyebrows, especially regarding how much genuine effort the front office is putting into protecting and properly representing Caitlin Clark, both on the court and within the organization.
Like it was going to be boom. There we go. Here go the boom right here. Now, this was just posted about 30 minutes ago. Caitlin Clark's status account said, Amber Cox is always loud after a win without Caitlin Clark. And I can't even lie. They're definitely right. She is. She always loud when Caitlin Clark ain't playing. I just got to keep it honest, man. Now, this was Amber Cox, right? Amber Cox said, Fever fans, we appreciate you. Can't thank you enough for always showing up for us at home and on the road. We hear you. And you are incredible.
Many feel that effort has been lacking. The exchange in question was posted roughly half an hour earlier. A Clark fan account wrote that Cox tends to be especially vocal after wins that happen without Clark on the floor, a claim many agreed felt accurate. Cox had posted a message thanking Fever supporters for consistently showing up, both at home and on the road, expressing gratitude for their energy.
And you are incredible, grateful for the support. Now, if you guys don't know, last night during the game in Phoenix, Alyssa Thomas was getting booed in Phoenix. You want to know why she was getting booed? This is why she was getting booed. Because Indiana Fever fans showed up and showed out in Phoenix. They came through, they came deep, and it was a lot of them in Phoenix. Now, that is what Amber Cox put on Twitter.
The post came after Phoenix fans booed Alyssa Thomas during Wednesday night's road matchup, a reaction attributed to the strong turnout of traveling Fever fans who packed the arena. That was the message Cox shared right after the final buzzer. She then responded directly in the replies, pushing back on the fans' comment by pointing out that teammates, including Cheyenne Cece someone, celebrate wins together, regardless of who's on the court, and dismissed the framing as an unfair narrative, adding that the team is eager for Cece's return. Reaction to that response was swift.
Last night, immediately after the game. Now, she vigorously, quickly, in a hurry, got in the comment section, said nonsense. You know who is also happy after any win? CC, because this is a team full of people who celebrate and care for one another. And like all of them, she's a great teammate. We all cannot wait to have CC back on the court. Enough with this ridiculous narrative. Whoo! Whoo! This is Indiana Fever GM.
One commenter said the criticism isn't fading and suggested the front office focus more on competence to rebuild trust. Another asked why Cox hadn't addressed the situation involving Clark more directly, questioning the energy behind her replies. Someone brought up a coaching decision, saying they didn't care about defending a certain assistant. Another asked why one guard was kept on the roster over another, arguing the current player isn't performing while the other is expected to thrive after a move to Las Vegas.
This is Indiana Fever GM Amber Cox loaded up on the fans. Somebody said, oh, it's not going away. We see you for what you are. Maybe try a little competence for a change to get the people back on your side. Damn. Why 2 minutes? Why hasn't Amber said anything about Caitlin Clark and AT situation? What is CC actual injury? Why did Scott get fired? Man, we don't care about Scott.
Someone else suggested the coaching staff itself should be reconsidered, pointing out that a roster with 3 All-Stars sits 7th in the standings and ranks 15th out of the league's teams defensively. A question was raised the day before about where the Fever ranked defensively across the league, and the answer, 15th overall, stood out given the team still pulled out a win, helped by a combined 45 points from 2 contributors. Someone also referenced past social media activity suggesting enthusiasm specifically for games where Clark wasn't playing, a pattern that had been highlighted in an earlier video. Another comment addressed Cox directly, arguing that no amount of online moderation will stop fans from speaking up, and suggested the front office instead focus on in-person fan engagement, local business partnerships, giveaways, and more accessible ticket options.
Actual injury. Why did Scott get fired? Man, we don't care about Scott. I just got to be honest, man. You could have did without the Scott part. Somebody else said, why keep Dantes over Justine? Right. That is a big scratch your head moment right there. Dantes is trash, bro. I just got to be honest. Now, Justine Scott is finna go out there to Las Vegas and ball. Mark my words. I bet you any amount of money. Justine Scott is about to go to Las Vegas Aces and ball. Now, somebody else said, why not fire the coach? 3 All-Stars and 7.
Someone else asked about the lack of a reliable backup center, questioning whether the front office could find players who can actually be depended on. Another comment argued that the coaching staff and front office's treatment of Clark speaks for itself, questioning why no one within the organization has publicly defended her in recent weeks. That sentiment echoed thoughts shared in an earlier video.
Said, why not fire the coach? 3 All-Stars and 7th in standings. 10th out of 15 in defense rating. So yesterday I made a question and I said, man, I wonder what is the Fever ranked among all WNBA teams when it comes to the defense. And you see here, they're ranked 15th. My goodness. We won the game and these two showed out a combined 45 points from AB and Kells. Don't forget the famous ICYMI post.
Separately, a colleague who covers these games in person for another outlet shared an encounter from the Mercury contest. While asking a fan wearing an Alyssa Thomas jersey about her thoughts on the Thomas Clark incident, the fan reportedly responded that certain people don't get to speak on the matter, a comment viewed as clearly rooted in racial bias. The colleague described being taken aback, noting that while most conversations at games are friendly, this particular exchange stood out as hostile.
When CC was out, she loves herself a good CC less games. She so active with her. I remember this. Damon did a whole video for them. I remember that. I definitely remember that. Somebody else said at Amber Cox, you won't be able to contain Caitlin fan stands online or anyone else for that matter. Focus on in-person events, local businesses, have some giveaways for everyone, hand out more.
Given experience attending games nationwide, encountering that kind of comment is rare, which is part of the motivation to attend an upcoming road game, specifically to document how opposing fans treat Clark supporters in person. The goal is to capture an honest picture of what that dynamic looks like inside the arena, since online hostility suggests the in-person reception may not be much warmer. Viewers are invited to share their own thoughts on the Amber Cox situation in the comments.
Mercury, although I thought I saw that Alyssa Thomas may not even play in this game. Anyway, it doesn't matter. All right? There's a lot of players in this league that don't like Caitlin Clark. We all know that. I venture to say I bet we could find one on every team. So if Caitlin's going to play in this league, they need to allow her to play so she can build a rhythm and she can build up her
reaction has been building around the latest injury report, especially after Caitlin Clark's own post-game comments the night before. Fans have noted the disconnect between her saying she felt fine and healthy and the team's decision to hold her out. The general argument circulating is straightforward. If a player says she's healthy enough to play, professional basketball should let her play, regardless of the opponent on the schedule.
Her confidence and her stamina and her legs, because she's a three-point shooter. She needs that lower half to be able to launch those logo threes. And boy, I got to tell you, they also posted about tonight's game. And, Caitlin Clark fans are like, nah, I'm good. I can tell you right now, will I be watching? Nope. You can forget that shit. I'm not doing what I did.
Some have pointed out that Alyssa Thomas may not have even been in the lineup for that particular matchup, though that detail hasn't changed the broader complaint. It's widely acknowledged that not every player around the league is a fan of Clark, but the counterargument is that regular playing time matters for building rhythm, confidence, and the physical conditioning a three-point shooter needs to keep launching from deep range. Once the team's post about that night's matchup went up, a wave of fans responded that they had no plans to tune in.
I can tell you right now, will I be watching? Nope. You can forget that shit. I'm not doing what I did last year, which is watch every game and do a reaction after every single game. If Caitlin Clark doesn't play, no. And frankly, if it's a late game like last night and we see the nonsense we saw last night, I didn't do a reaction to that sumbitch either. I told Ben Daniel, I said, I really ain't got shit good to say right now. I'm not putting a reaction out to this thing. All right, so here we go. Status report for...
Compared to the previous season, when every game got a same-night reaction video, the pattern this year has shifted. No Clark, no watch, and even a late, difficult game the previous night went without a reaction video, given how little there was to say about it. The night's official report listed Clark as out for rest. Questions have circulated about how that squares with earlier scrutiny directed at a league executive over...
For tonight's game, this has officially become a scam. Caitlin Clark out, rest. Is it my understanding that you guys claim Scott Agnes, y'all came down on him because of load management? Well, what the is that? If a player is healthy enough to play and they're sitting out and you literally put rest, hate to break it to you, it's load management.
Attention has also turned to the training staff more broadly. Sophie Cunningham was announced with back spasms shortly before tip-off, and Aaliyah Boston's ongoing lower leg issue has never been clearly defined publicly. Fans and observers have asked repeatedly for the team's media staff to get a specific answer on what the injury actually is, whether it involves the knee, the calf, the Achilles, or something else, arguing that vague descriptions don't hold up well against a player who had just said she felt fine. Post-game comments from the night before were also revisited.
It's load management. Seriously, and what's going on with this training staff? Now Sophie Cunningham's got back spasms. They showed up last night at game time. Aaliyah Boston, that phantom lower leg injury that nobody is quite sure as to what's really going on with it. We've asked that question. Hey, media, Indiana Fever media, can somebody specifically ask what?
Clark described how difficult it was to find rhythm playing in short 2 to 3 minute stretches before being substituted, noting that while some of her looks fell and others didn't, the constant in and out made it hard to get a real feel for the game. She said her body felt great overall despite the frustration of a loss, and that she hadn't felt especially winded. That combination, a player saying her body feels good while being kept out the following game, is what's driven most of the frustration, with many arguing she should have been in the lineup regardless of the opponent.
Exactly is wrong with Aaliyah Boston's leg. Oh, it's a lower leg. No, is it a knee? Is it a calf? It is a sore Achilles? Is it a strain? Is it what's their job exactly? So this came out. Oh, so it's...
A range of fan reactions followed, several expressing frustration with head coach Stephanie White's handling of Clark's minutes and questioning whether limiting her time was affecting her chances at postseason recognition. Some floated the idea that Congress or other oversight might be better spent looking into gambling activity connected to the league rather than injury reporting, though these remain fan opinions rather than substantiated claims. Others questioned whether Clark herself was requesting the rest or whether it was being imposed by the coaching staff, and a number of commenters called for a coaching change or a trade, describing the team's offensive style under White as difficult to watch.
What's their job exactly? So this came out. Oh, so it's rest now. after she let us know that she's fine, stop messing with her stats. Okay, last night's comments. It was not my decision. That was somebody else's decision, talking about those 2 to 3 minute spurts that made us all want to pick our eyeballs out of our heads with a spoon. Quote, it's just really hard when you're playing 3 minutes, subbed out 3 minutes, blah, 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 blah.
None of these amount to confirmed facts about intent behind the coaching decisions. They reflect the frustration being expressed by a vocal segment of the fan base. By the time the next game rolled around, sentiment hadn't improved. Comments described disinterest in watching another matchup without Clark in the lineup, with several fans saying they had better things to do than watch a slow-paced offensive system.
Playing 3 minutes, subbed out 3 minutes, blah, 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 blah. It's really hard to get in the flow. For the most part, I got good looks. Some of them went, some of them didn't. I probably didn't get a feel for the game as I usually do. It's really, really hard for me to play in that scenario. But overall, my body feels great. So that's a positive I can take from today. Overall, my body feels great. Caitlin says she's feeling good. I told trainers after the game that it stinks.
Others said they'd stay up anyway just to see how the game played out. The recurring theme across the responses was a desire for a coaching change, front office changes, and better officiating before fans said they'd return to watching regularly. Several also noted that when Clark is in the lineup,